For as long as I can remember, I've been for the death penalty, and it hasn't become apparent to me that through sudden realizations that the death penalty can lead to the killings of a lot of innocent people. And with my specific interest being in a forensic science career for my future, I realized that, and I've been like taught that physical evidence can be correlated to a suspect of a particular crime in general. And if that suspect hadn't done the crime, or maybe sometimes there are specific situations where suspects will willingly give themselves up to a crime that they don't commit, and that's for reasons unknown to people like us, but for them, they may do it for multiple different reasons. And there's other times where evidence is just misconceived and misinterpreted. And for these reasons specifically, this has allowed me to change my perspective on the death penalty. Another reason is poorly examined evidence. We as people understand that people make mistakes, but daily mistakes, clumsiness, just anything of the sort, these mistakes aren't life-threatening, and they can't kill innocent people. So what a forensic sciences jobs team needs to know is that it's also a lot of pressure, but they need to know that they need to do their job right, and they need to be educated enough that they're not going to make the wrong mistakes. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to make a mistake, but in this situation, yes, it is a lot of pressure. Yes, it's difficult, but it's more difficult for the person that's going to be killed if you don't get the outcome that is right and that is the actual answer. And sometimes a wrong answer can be led by misleading facts. For instance, specifically, when a crime has been committed and say there's a murder investigation going on, and at the crime scene you have a murder weapon and you have multiple other evidence. Say you have maybe a suicide note. You have to look at fingerprints, you have to look at handwriting, you have to look at multiple evidence. That way it supports what you're looking at. And without having multiple evidence to support what you think may or may not be the right answer, then it's difficult to say that one suspect committed the crime. In doing this, tying like a murder weapon to a suspect may not be always the best, because evidence can sometimes just be a coincidence. And saying that one of your suspects has a murder weapon, has an axe, for instance, say they have that, but that axe is also sold at many department stores, so any of your suspects could have that specific murder weapon. And being able to have valuable, trusted sources for your support in what you may or may not think a suspect is guilty or not, it allows for a judge, it allows for a jury, it allows for all the people around the world that are listening into a specific case to say, hey, that person's guilty, or maybe that person's innocent, and maybe this valued, trusted person is on a forensic science team, but maybe they're higher educated, or maybe they have their master's in a specific field, but they're not really tied to a forensic science team. And this is just one example, having trusted sources to make sure that evidence isn't tied to the wrong guilt or innocent person. And the problem with having certain things tied to innocent people is that there are sometimes willing innocent people to go and be in and just kind of take the fault for somebody else's crime, and they'll take whatever punishment. It doesn't, even if at this point it is the death penalty, some different people do it for different reasons. Some people do it for the fame, some people do it for the power, or what we say, like the title, and they want to live throughout saying, hey, I might have killed this person, or I've committed this crime. And sometimes maybe they say that they've gone out, or like died with a big kind of a bang, I guess, and or maybe they're dying for protest and they want to prove a point to people around the world. And then there are people that are wrongfully accused, and it's these people that we as a society need to understand that the death penalty are killing these people, and their families, the people that are innocently killed and trialed as, and saying that they may have committed a crime that they didn't commit. It's life-threatening to them. It's morbidly affecting families. And here are just a couple examples. A man named Carlos de Luna was a suspect at a gas station one night when a woman was stabbed, and there had been a similar man of the same race at the gas station, and the gas station workers saw him, and the police were looking for the one that actually committed the crime, and they found him. They found Carlos hiding under a car, and they accused him for committing the crime. And they completely didn't acknowledge the fact that he had no blood whatsoever on him, and they said, hey, he committed the crime, and they killed him through the death penalty. As well as a man named Larry Griffin, who was allegedly trialed as guilty for killing a 19-year-old boy in a drive-by shooting. And even though there were no fingerprints found on the car or any of what they say to be were the murder weapons at the time, the guns, both these men were trialed for and stated as guilty, even though later on they were innocent. They were found out to be innocent. And I just want to show you the pictures of these men real quick, because this is Carlos de Luna and this is Larry Griffin. And these men had families, and it's sad to say that we as a society are not more empathetic to these men, but we know that as time goes on and the crimes that are being committed throughout the world, that it gets more difficult for forensics crime scene, or even highly educated people and their masters and their specific education skills and levels, that they may know what they think they're doing, but technology is getting higher and higher. But to figure out who and why someone actually committed a crime, or maybe a willing suspect taking the fault for a crime, it's hard to differentiate between innocent and guilty people. And we've all heard of the solutions to or what may or may not be the solutions to the death penalty, which could be life imprisonment, which in the long run, with advertisements, TV associations, debates, court systems, all of these things, when trialing and talking about the death penalty, life imprisonment is less expensive. And it's hard to say that we could put these people in mental asylums, because depending on the situation, depending on the crime that these people may or may not have committed, we don't know whether or not they are diagnosed with maybe an insanity or maybe a specific disorder that made them or may not have committed the crime. But these are just some of the solutions to what I think may save many innocent people's lives. One of my favorite quotes by William Blackstone states that better that 10 guilty persons escape than that one innocent person suffer. And although this may be true, and although many other people may say maybe the 10 guilty people escape from prison and maybe they kill many innocent people, but there's also the chance that that innocent person is going, not the chance for this innocent person, because this innocent person will suffer, but they could have saved a lot of lives too, in many ways that we will never know if that person dies. And it's specifically very important for forensic science team's job to analyze the evidence and the suspects to their best abilities. That way that an innocent suspect doesn't die fighting for or not fighting for what their lives, basically. And to prove, fighting for their lives and proving their innocence in court. And for them, that may be more difficult because they don't have the trusted and the variable or sources that we have today. And the pressure and the mistakes of a forensic science team's jobs and made by them can impact a person's life drastically, so much to the point that they may end it. And the possible solutions that might not be obvious as one might think, but can save many of an innocent suspect's lives.